For the longest time, buyers looking to get a minivan have always gravitated toward the Toyota Sienna. It's always been a comfortable, safe choice, offering a unique blend of practicality, comfort, and of course that Toyota reputation for reliability and durability. Now, unfortunately for Toyota, the current generation Sienna has been around since 2011. That's the third generation model. So for 2021, there's finally an all-new version of the Sienna. And as you can see, this particular one here that I'm showing you is the XSE. It's now only available as a hybrid. It's moved to Toyota's new TNGA architecture, and Toyota says it's now the most technologically advanced and most luxurious minivan the company has ever offered. So the big question I want to answer, if you guys are looking for the perfect family vehicle, has Toyota made enough changes to the Sienna to make this thing one of the best choices? That's what we're here to find out. So if you guys remember the previous generation Sienna, you'll remember that Toyota actually used a marketing tagline in their advertisements calling this thing the swagger wagon. Now, I have to admit, for this new generation model, it's a little bit more befitting because Toyota designed it from the ground up to be a little bit more stylish, a little bit more crossover-like, because remember, minivans are uncool. People want SUVs, although this thing to me still looks very much like a minivan. This particular one that I'm showing you is the XSE trim, so it's the sport-oriented model. Toyota also offers the LE, XLE, XSE, Limited, and Platinum grades. You can see the XSE gets its own unique front fascia. The grille in particular is much larger. It's got that mesh black finish to it. You can see there's a blue Toyota hybrid badge here to show that this is a hybrid. And you can see the front fascia kind of flows pretty well. I like the full LED headlights. All Siennas come standard with full LED headlights, although the XSE grade gives you kind of an LED running strip for the daytime running light. If you guys go for the Platinum model, Toyota upgrades the LEDs further with a projector beam style LEDs. And if you guys go for the XLE and upgrades, you get LED fog lights, and you also get LED turn signals, which is not something you get in the refreshed Honda Odyssey. So I'm glad to see that Toyota is upping the premium factor, because the previous generation Sienna didn't even offer LED headlights. Even on the highest trims, you had halogen projectors, which was very confusing to me. Now, looking at the rest of the profile, you can see Toyota tries to trick you into thinking this is an SUV, but looking at it from this angle, you'll know instantly it's a minivan because of the sliding rear doors. Now that it's on the TNGA architecture, Toyota was able to stretch the wheelbase by about 1.2 inches, and they also stretched the overall length by about 3 inches. So at 204 inches long, this is about 3 inches longer than the previous generation, and it makes it about the same size as most of its competitors. There's nothing really mini about this minivan. It's a lot bigger versus the minivan of the first generation Sienna back in 1999. Now the wheels, you can see this XSE front drive model comes with this 20-inch wheel wrapped in 235 width tires. If you guys go for an all-wheel drive version, you will drop down to an 18-inch wheel. I believe Toyota did that because the all-wheel drive system can't deal with how big the wheel actually is. Toyota says that they give you a sport tune suspension on the XSE, which is nice, but the big news for this generation now is Toyota has gotten rid of the twist beam semi-independent rear suspension. They've replaced it with a multi-link rear suspension design, so that does improve the ride quality. It also improves the handling. Now, looking at this profile here, you can see there's a lot of interesting angles here, curves, to make this car look a little bit more aggressive. Toyota has always been hiding their sliding track here underneath the rear window, which Honda finally just did for the 2021 Odyssey. And over at the rear design of the Sienna, this is where I probably think the front looks a little bit better. This looks like it's trying a little bit too hard. You do get mostly LED taillights. The brake lights and taillights are LEDs, but the turn signal is an incandescent. And the rear tag lights are also an incandescent design. The XSE gives you its own unique styling with the blacked out emblem, of course, the blacked out trim with those fake vents for the lower rear valence. And there's obviously no visible exhaust tips. This is a hybrid model. All Siennas will have, of course, the trim level and the hybrid badge there to show that this is a hybrid addition to the one on the side. Now, the tailgate is obviously a power tailgate. It also has the foot activated feature. The sliding doors also offer a foot activated feature, which Toyota says is an industry first in the segment. And as you can see, Toyota has made the third row area a little bit easier to fold, but cargo capacity here is around 34.5 cubic feet of space. That's down about 5 cubic feet versus the previous generation. But Toyota says that they've made this, again, easier to fold. Basically, to fold it, you want to first pull on the recline button tab over here and then pull this little mechanism here. And as you can see, that will bring the seat down. Toyota doesn't offer like a power folding feature, but I will say that they've made this a lot easier to fold. And when you fold down this seat, you get around 75 cubic feet of space. Now, the second row for this generation does not remove anymore. Instead, Toyota offers a cargo area or cargo mode where it slides the seat completely forward against the front seats. So with the seats in that position, you get around 100 cubic feet of space. That's down 50 cubic feet versus the previous generation, unfortunately. And that's because you cannot remove those second row seats. Chrysler, of course, offers the ability to fold the seats into the floor. Toyota now just lets you push the second row seats forward up against the front seats, so you do get less cargo capacity. The nickel metal hydride battery actually lives underneath the front of the second row seats, so it doesn't intrude in any cargo area space. And in terms of other features, Toyota does offer a vacuum in this car, although my tester, of course, does not have it. And you can also get a power inverter back here where it will give you 2 household plugs up to 1,500 watts of power, so you could actually plug in another vacuum or plug in power tools back here if you guys plan to do any work out of your Sienna. So obviously the new Sienna looks different on the outside for the all-new 4th generation, but what about the interior? This is where minivan shoppers really care the most about. And as you guys probably guessed, Toyota has made some nice improvements to this generation Sienna, especially when you look at this XSE trim, which is the sport-oriented model. Now, as you can see, looking at this interior at a glance, if you guys have been in some modern Toyota vehicles, this is going to be pretty familiar. The steering wheel comes right off of the new Highlander. I like the orange contrasting stitching that you get with the XSE trim. These are also the specific B-Tex or Soft-Tex leatherette material that you get with the XSE. It kind of has like this gray, darker gray, two-tone undertone with the orange stitching. It's a pretty nice looking seat. I also like the interior combination with that two-tone theme that kind of carries over. The door panels have a light material on the upper door panels, soft touch over here, and some silver painted plastic, some more storage down here at the lower door pockets. When I shut the door, it has a somewhat tinny sound to the door slam. This is the TNGA platform that also underpins the Camry, Corolla, and I don't love the way the door sounds when that shuts, so it doesn't surprise me here. This is the 9-inch infotainment system. This is the Toyota latest infotainment system. When you want to start the vehicle up, you can see, let me first show you guys the key fob. The Sienna has its own unique specific key. It has a blue hybrid badge to show you this is a hybrid. You also have buttons here to open up the power sliding doors, the rear tailgate, of course. The button to fire up everything is over here. It's a blue button because this is a hybrid. And now, because this is a hybrid, there's no more traditional engine starter noise. Instead, you just have the ready button, or the ready indicator that shows there and where the tach would be to let you know that the car is turned on. The XSE grade also has the smaller 3.5-inch helper LCD screen. If you guys go for a limited or platinum, it'll show a 7-inch screen over there instead, which will take up the entire thing. I think Toyota should have included it on the XSE, especially my tester, which is an XSE Plus. In terms of the materials, this is a soft touch injection molded plastic. I actually kind of prefer how Toyota didn't go with the faux stitching here. There is some Soft-Tex material here, aluminum look trim here. The windows, one touch automatic for the front windows and for the back windows. So one touch for all 4, which is great. You cannot vent the rear side windows anymore, at least. I can't seem to find the button for that anymore. That's a feature that a lot of manufacturers have been taking away. There's some nice little storage over here, a few more buttons over here to turn off the stability control, your automatic high beams and whatnot. The steering wheel, you can see it's a manual tilt and telescoping feature. It gives you a pretty good amount of adjustability. I like the way the steering wheel looks. This is the nice one that's from the Highlander. You can also get a heads-up display if you guys go for the platinum grade model. Of course, the XSE does not have that. Like I said, all of them come with a 9-inch touchscreen infotainment system. Toyota doesn't call it Entune anymore, but it does include Android Auto and Apple CarPlay and Amazon Alexa. It's not wireless though, although I'm surprised that Toyota didn't offer the 12-inch display. I mean, obviously there's room here for Toyota to do the 12-inch display. My guess it has to come down to cost, because they could literally get rid of these hard buttons over here if you don't want to do the 12-inch display. But you have to buy a Venza or a Highlander if you guys want that. The dashboard has a hard touch plastic material over the instrument panel hood. It's soft touch over here. There's some fitment issues here, but I am noticing that this car is a pre-production, early production model. It is a soft text material here with some faux stitching. Also nice and padded right here where your knees could potentially hit this. So it's nice that Toyota at least gave you that. Big amount of storage over here, which is what minivan shoppers like. I like this little shelf right here. Although this plastic panel here doesn't look like it's kind of fooling anybody. It feels a little cheap and flimsy, but this is a minivan, so it's not going to have, you know, the nicest materials. You can see there's a wireless phone charging pad there. There's the USB for your iPod connection or your phone connection. tri-zone automatic climate control on this particular one. Actually, it's 4-zone. If you guys go for the base LE, it's tri-zone and then 4-zone for all the trims and up. You can see there's a 3-level heated seats. There is a button here where the cooled seat could go. You got to go for the higher trims above the XSE to get that. Put the vehicle in reverse. You can see there's just a backup camera with no trajectory, surprisingly. You have to go for the higher trims to get the full 360 camera system, which in a minivan, I'm surprised that there's no trajectory in this car. So it does have the distance markers and such, but very interesting. By the way, this controls the CVT transmission. It has a manual mode, no paddles on the wheel, which is fine. This is a minivan. I don't expect that stuff like that. There is drive modes. There's eco, normal, and sport. And then there's also an EV mode when you guys have enough charge in the battery that allows you to do that. Electronic parking brake, of course. You have a nice big center console storage. It's very deep, actually. There's two more USBs, another 2 more USBs over here. Nice padded areas over here, and then more cup holders over here where you can close this off if you'd like. The seats are also pretty comfortable and supportive. The XSE has its own specific seats, which I want to say are a little bit more aggressively bolstered, but why bother? It's a minivan. You're not going to be attacking corners in this thing. Looking at the glove compartment, you can see it's average size. It's damped but not lined with felt. A lot of storage in here, which is good. The JBL premium sound system that my tester has offers 12 speakers and 1200 watts of power. It sounds good, much better than the last Odyssey Touring or Elite that I drove, which just had the Honda branded system. Although this is not as good as what you can find in the Pacifica with its Harman Kardon based stereo system. Just a standard sunroof. For some reason, Toyota doesn't offer a Pano roof. I don't believe they do. I couldn't find it in the options spec sheet. But overall, the cabin has all the usual storage cubbies and it feels roomy. It gives you a nice commanding view of the road. It has good materials. And really, I think you should probably go for the Platinum to get everything, really. The more luxury-oriented feel where you'll have the wood trim. But this XSE grade with its sport-oriented theme is definitely not bad. It's nicer to me versus the cabin of the Odyssey, and I also like the Toyota infotainment system. I think it's better, and the screen is also much larger. So those foot-activated power tailgates are cool, but Toyota now offers a foot-activated power sliding door. All I have to do is just kick my foot underneath that little area on the driver's side, and you can see it opens the door right up. Imagine your hands being full of grocery stuff or kids and being able to do that. That's really nice. Now getting into the second row, you can see my tester obviously has the captain's chairs, which the captain's chairs, Toyota actually offers a super long recline function where you can slide this seat up to 25 inches all the way back. So again, let me get back here and show you guys. You pull this lever right here and look at how far this thing slides back. I can literally sit back here and stretch my legs out entirely, and Toyota also offers an ottoman feature, which sadly is not available on the XSE trim. You have to go to a limited or platinum grade, but this right here with the ottoman, if you guys wanted the platinum model, is a really nice place to spend time. If you guys have the seat in the normal position, which is right here, you get around 39 inches of legroom, which is practically matching that what you get in the front of the seat. So again, the second row minivans have always been fantastic. There's also a rear seat entertainment system that my sister doesn't have. That would again give people something to watch back here. You have these sunshades back here, and you also have plenty of USB ports. Toyota says there's a total of 7 USB ports and 18 cup holders in this thing. Now getting into the third row, obviously Toyota gives you several different options. You can kind of cross between the second row and the middle over there, or you can also pull this little lever here, which should, when this is not up, bring that seat up. And then once that goes up, you can slide the seat forward, and it reveals a pretty good amount of space to get back into the third row. Toyota says there's around 38 inches of legroom back there. 38 inches of legroom is way more than what you're gonna get in those crossovers. So let me get back here and show you guys the space. I'll get over on this side here. And as you can see, at 5'7", I could easily sit back here and be in complete comfort. Now I'm surprised there's no LED lighting back here. I imagine maybe the platinum grades give you that. You do have 2 USB ports on this side, cup holders, mostly hard touch materials back here, which is to be expected. But overall, remember, minivans are the king in terms of having to carry people and stuff, or both together, because SUVs just don't offer this much space. Now underneath the Sienna's new hood, you're gonna find just one engine choice for now. The V6 engine is gone, which is kind of sad because it made the Sienna one of the most powerful minivans in the segment with nearly 300 horsepower. This has now been replaced with the powertrain that's in the Toyota Highlander Hybrid. It's a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder that runs on the Atkinson cycle. It's based off their new dynamic force engine. The engine on itself makes 186 horsepower, which is definitely not a lot of power considering this van weighs over 4,600 pounds. Now it's augmented by 2 electric motors, 3 if you guys go for the all-wheel drive system. And when you factor in the electric motors, it gives you a combined output of 245 horsepower. Not bad, but remember the old Sienna had nearly 50 more horsepower than this, so it is definitely a downgrade. The improvement, of course, is in the fuel economy. This is now the most fuel-efficient hybrid minivan or minivan in this segment, and it's the only minivan you can get with all-wheel drive and the electrified option. The Pacifica offers all-wheel drive, but you can't get it with the plug-in hybrid. It's only with the gas powertrain option. Toyota says with fuel economy for the front drive model like this is rated at 36 in the city, 36 on the highway, and 35 combined. Adding all-wheel drive just drops the combined rating to 35. So still excellent fuel economy ratings. It all goes out through an eCVT, a continuously variable transmission. And Toyota has kept the towing capacity at around 3,500 pounds. As this one sits, it weighs around 4,600 pounds. All-wheel drive adds another 100 pounds. So the new Sienna is slightly heavier. So even though SUVs are all the rage nowadays, it's really refreshing to see a plethora of new minivans being introduced, because minivans, I feel, are still the best way to transport people and all their stuff as well. And this new Sienna, we've been waiting for it for quite some time. It's been 10 years since Toyota completely redesigned the Sienna. The Odyssey's always been the top. The Pacifica is also at the top of its game. I'll be driving the fully redesigned Pacifica next month in November. So my first impressions in this new Sienna are pretty positive. Remember, Toyota has moved this to the TNGA architecture, which means it's got a much stiffer platform. It has a much sportier platform as well. Sportier is relative, of course. It has an independent rear suspension, which the Sienna has never had before. So this, of course, is going to improve the ride quality, improve the handling. And the XSE grade that I'm driving has thicker stabilizer bars, a unique tune to the suspension. So it's been sport tuned in Toyota speak. Now, overall, minivans aren't meant for excellent driving dynamics, but the new Sienna definitely drives pretty well. Although I will say the ride quality has gotten noticeably firmer because of these 20-inch wheels and the firmer suspension tuning of the XSE. So if you guys want a softer ride quality, I imagine you might want to go for a limited or a platinum grade Sienna, because this might be a little too firm. It doesn't need to be this firm. It's a minivan, but it does look better on the outside. Now, of course, the V6 engine is now gone. So technically the Sienna has dropped in power by a pretty good margin. The old Sienna was one of the most powerful minivans you could buy. This one now is one of the most fuel efficient minivans you can buy. And with 245 horsepower on top, Toyota says you'll get similar performance. And it has that typical drone that you expect with a CVT and the hybridized powertrain. But I will say, it is very responsive. You know, most minivan shoppers aren't going to be drag racing these things, but when you need to pass somebody, as soon as my foot goes down, or here, I'll make this right turn here, floor it, a little bit of tire screech. It definitely feels slower than the last Sienna I drove. It's not dreadfully slow, but this now makes the Sienna one of the slowest accelerating minivans in the segment. Although, if you're gonna go by the numbers, yes, it's gonna feel noticeably slower. However, the new Sienna does feel more responsive, because, you know, before you didn't have the electric motors that were kind of helping it, and now when my foot goes to the floor, I'm noticing that the Sienna is much more quick to kind of get off the line. It just kind of runs out of steam because it has less horsepower than the previous generation. I also appreciate that Toyota is not doing some kind of fake shifting with the CVT. It just continues to leave the engine in the meat of its power band. It kind of drones away, which isn't great. The brakes on this car also, they feel a little bit hybridized, like they're regen braking, but it's not bad. Overall, the driving dynamics haven't changed. You just have to get used to the new droney CVT noise and the fact that it's not quite as quick in terms of the numbers, but in terms of the feel, it's not bad. Floored from a stop there. I mean, if I was going to be towing something with this car, which it'll tow 3,500 pounds, or I had it loaded up with 6, 7, 8 people, it probably will feel even more lethargic. Now the performance feels adequate. foot goes to the floor here and it's pretty responsive, but yeah, if you're gonna be carrying heavy loads in this car all the time, you might be missing the 6-cylinder. And I really wish Toyota would consider putting in the RAV4 Prime's powertrain in this car. It would really do it wonders. I mean, they already offer all-wheel drive, which my tester is a front drive model. It would only make sense if Toyota made this a plug-in hybrid. So Toyota, please just RAV4 Prime all the things, just because the Prime's powertrain is so good. Would love to see this van have over 300 horsepower from that powertrain. It could use it because, remember, this is a heavy van. It weighs 4,700 pounds, about 800 pounds more, or 500 pounds more than a RAV4 Prime. So you do notice the fact that it is slightly slower, but I understand why Toyota went with the hybrid route, because in my week's worth of testing, this van got 29, just under 30 mpg, which is 10 mpg better than the previous generation. Now, I am below the EPA's target of 36 mpg, but I imagine if I had more time with it, if I drove it even more economically, it would probably get better gas mileage than this. So kind of keep that in mind. This is a really nice driving van that, honestly, I think I prefer it over the Odyssey. I haven't driven the new Pacifica yet. That's really going to be the one that I'm going to be testing next month. But most fuel efficient minivan in the segment, yes. Nice interior, yes. You can do a burnout in it, yes. All-wheel drive, yes. The Pacifica offers all-wheel drive, but only on the gas powertrain. This is the only electrified all-wheel drive minivan that you can buy. So kind of keep that in mind, and Toyota's done a really good job with this new Sienna. I'm pretty impressed. It would probably be my pick right now until I drive the new Pacifica. In terms of the driver assistance tech, you've got Toyota Safety Sense 2.0, which is standard. Blind spot monitoring, I believe, is optional. You do have a cross traffic alert, you have automatic emergency braking, you have adaptive cruise control with low speed follow. All of it works pretty well. Works better than the last Odyssey that I tested, but I haven't tested the latest Pacifica, of course, with their newer system. The minivans are a little bit behind in terms of the driver assistance tech. These aren't as high tech as the ones you'll try out in some of the SUV competitors. But you know, the fact that you can get all this stuff now in a van, these are one of the safest vehicles, and now you have all these tech and convenience features, and you better have them considering the price of this new Sienna. So even though everybody in America wants a crossover SUV, you cannot deny just how damn practical a minivan is. And I have to admit, after spending a few days with the new Sienna, I had a chance to drive the Odyssey a couple months ago. I haven't driven the new Pacifica. This new Sienna hybrid is definitely one of my favorites. I mean, yes, it's slower than the previous generation, but I don't think that really matters in the minivan segment as long as, you know, it has enough power to get this thing moving and it feels responsive. The new rear suspension has improved the ride quality and the handling. The interior is far more tech focused, has better tech than the Honda Odyssey, and you can also get it with a lot of premium touches that's unavailable on the Honda that you can get on the Chrysler. However, I believe the Chrysler may end up being a little bit more expensive, and also the styling. I actually really like the way this XSE grade looks, although I personally think it's trying a little too hard, especially from this rear angle here. I do like the 20-inch wheels. I do like the overall look in the front. I like the interior, some of the new features like the vacuum in the refrigerator that my tester doesn't have, annoyingly. But really, what makes the Sienna, you know, so appealing is the fact that it's a Toyota. It's going to have that reputation for reliability and build quality. The fact that it's a hybrid, gets 36 mpg. I got around 30 mpg in my week's worth of testing. And if you guys are looking for an all-wheel drive electrified minivan, this is the only one that you can get because Chrysler doesn't offer it, Honda doesn't offer all-wheel drive. So this is now a very appealing vehicle, especially if you guys are looking for a minivan. You need to make sure and put this one at the very top of your list. Now, speaking of which, if you're looking to purchase one of these, it does go on sale in November, so just a couple weeks or so. And the starting price is now a little bit more expensive. The new Sienna starts around $2,700 higher at just under $35,000, which makes this a little bit more expensive than most of its competitors. But with the hybridized powertrain, the fuel economy, and all of the tech that this thing has, I think it's definitely worth the upgrade. I think this one here, the XSE, may be the sweet spot because the XSE starts at around $42,000. My tester here with the Plus package, with a couple of options here, I'm going to estimate this one's around $45,000. Keep in mind, if you guys go for a fully loaded Platinum, with all the goodies that I'd mentioned, this thing can easily go over $50,000, which makes it more expensive than the last Odyssey Elite that I tested. But I'd argue with the better infotainment system, better fuel economy, better tech, and similar features, I'd probably end up going for this one. And it's also going to be right in line with the new Chrysler Pacifica, which I'll be testing sometime later next month. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the 2021 Toyota Sienna XSE. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook. And as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.